And fan to fan we toast the speed. 50 strong, our voices lead. McLaren hunts for Red Bull's crown. Ferrari roars in Monza town. Verstappen fights to stay in play. Hamilton shines like brighter day. Thrills and chills on every bend. The chase, it seems, will never end. Toast the torque, feel the rush. Engines roar, hear the hush. Fans united, racing hearts.
Well, good evening, everyone. You've been hearing this as a routine over the last 50 episodes. Yes, Toast the Talk hits its 50th episode, and we have a stellar list of panelists on this to celebrate this milestone. Makes it even more nicer, sweeter, I should say, for the Forza Ferrari fans. Tifosi at home ground, winning. Uh, with a strategy that actually worked out, a gamble they took that actually worked out. So we have our fans here. This was also a gamble that we started off a few years back, all thanks to Arijit saying we should start off with an F1 podcast because you guys all keep on talking about it. And he started a WhatsApp group, and it was a lot more cuss words than discussions. And Arijit wasn't sure if we should continue doing this, but we took the gamble, and here we are at number 50. So first up, Arijit, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts on our
Well,
milestone
it's
and the
nice.
F1 milestone?
Well, it's nice. It's close to 3 years now that we have had that group. We have had that experience of cuss words, but it was a good start, great start, and yeah, ever since the races have been pretty much interesting in the last few months, and that is quite something I look forward. The discussions are back. There's a lot of unexpected who will win today, who won't, and the races have become quite exciting. So I'm glad that we started something about 3 years back, and the show is as interesting as the races are now.
And for our
And thank
fans,
you, Vivek. Thank you for doing such a stellar work over here.
no, it's been everyone around here, the support system that we have. And I just want to highlight to the fans that the last time Arijit was on the show, we were talking about normal programming, and he was like, has anyone apart from Max won? And all of that has changed over the last few races. It's been a while since Max has won, and it's not because of reliability issues or anything, but you know, the pace has picked up for McLaren for sure. Ferrari's trying out different things with strategy. Uh, Mercedes has got a few wins. I mean, Hamilton has 2 wins in the last few races. So a lot has changed. And with that, I'm going to head over to Naren. Welcome back to the show. He's probably the person who's most of you have seen him for the most number of times on this podcast. Maybe a 49 out of 50. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But welcome, Naren. And what are your thoughts for this weekend?
Uh, yeah, a lot of changes has happened in the race and a lot of mixed bag results, so to say. I was expecting McLaren to win, but out of the blue came the Ferrari and they won. So it was actually nice to see Ferrari in the winning, and I hope that they continuously win. But overall, it was a decent race, so to say. But yeah, we'll discuss more in detail.
And what are your thoughts on the milestone?
Uh, for me, actually, it is a privilege that I've been a part of this wonderful team of discussing about F1 and uh, in the WhatsApp group, also in the race. This actually gives me more interest towards reading new things related to F1, apart from just the drivers and the teams and the other stuff. Maybe getting more technically into the F1 aspects is what keeps me working towards it. And obviously, all the ranting inside the group also makes me a little more lively. So yeah.
And also for everyone who's tuning in for the first time or in recent times, Naren's the reason why we can call ourselves an international podcast. But
Yeah.
I will keep the destination quiet for privacy reasons. And Moving forward to Prashant, I kept him for the end because he's bursting with energy. Today is an extremely important day for him, not just because it's the 50th episode, but you can see from his background and from his t-shirt why he's super, super happy and elated today. Over to you, Prashant.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vivek. First of all, uh, be, before we talk about this race, I think my fondest memory out of the 50 has been the one where we hosted this session in person and I was the choreographer, if you can call it. I had the camera. We did, I think, multiple toast events that day, right? We had the tennis, we had the cricket, and then followed by Formula One. I had the pleasure to meet a lot of the fellow Formula One fans in that event. I wish we can do a lot more. I know we've been talking about it, but I think that was a huge transformation to see that when people come together with a very common objective, common ideologies, or common fantasies about this, right? Hobbies. I think we connect a lot more better. Sometimes when we get to this podcast, when we chat in our discussions, as Naren said, we let go of a lot of things from our real life, but we are completely indulged in those conversations, and that's what makes us fans. That's what makes us enthusiasts about the sport. And I think 50th is a fantastic milestone. Looking forward for a lot more. Thanks, Oreo. Thanks, Vivek. I think both of you, one person on the screen, one person behind the screen, has been doing a lot of work. So thank you. And to our fans, looking forward for a lot more 50s. So keep listening to us. But coming back to this race, right? Very excited. Probably one of the biggest twist in the tail kind of a race. I was just posting it in the group, right? Till lap 39, I was driving in my car and I was listening from my cell phone and trying to watch in traffic signals what was the race happening in. I entered my basement and I lost signal. I parked my car. I come home upstairs. I forgot for a few seconds, and by the time I could power on my device or my TV, I see Charles there standing with the trophy, right, winning the biggest surprise. And I think that was unbelievable, right? I think it creates a lot more excitement, not just to me as a Formula One fan, as a Ferrari fan. This is his second win for the year, third win overall for Ferrari. Super excited. I think it's going to create a lot more ruckus in the system.
Yep, a lot more chaos, a lot more excitement, something we've been waiting for a few years if you've been following this show. And whenever I used to do double clothes, normal programming, uh, the new normal is a lot more exciting. And with McLaren in the mix, I did have a question for all of you with respect to McLaren. Today in the cooler room, we noticed a very, very quiet Lando Norris, not the usual him. What are your thoughts on what was running behind his mind at that point? Because obviously, in terms of a race finish for McLaren, it was still a good finish. It was still second and third. I know they were aiming for the top two, but still good running. They closed the gap on Red Bull. The Constructors' Championship, which seemed like done and dusted for Red Bull at the start of the season, no longer the case. They're just one race away from losing it. And in that mix, Ferrari is also not too far behind. 40 points, still a huge gap, but not as invincible as it looked before. But I want to get your thoughts on what is the McLaren think tank and specifically around Lando Norris today.
Well, I think his body language, let me go first. His body language showed it all. I think if you saw where the three drivers were sitting and kind of discussing out there, he was sitting very quiet, putting his head on his hand, right? And the body language spoke. I think first trigger point was the turn four, where nobody, including Lando, expected that he will be overtaken by Piastri. I think they have been given a free hand to challenge themselves. I was listening to the commentary. They have been asked to operate the challenge each other scenario within certain boundaries. So I think that was well within the construct, right? Well within the requirements. The second part was, I think he had a pretty bad pit stop. He made certain errors. He made certain mistakes. So it was a race which I believe he had in his grasp. Probably Piastri would have given him a tough challenge, but if he had driven a flawless race like we expect, like a Max or Hamilton to drive, probably he would have won it. right? And Charles would have come second or maybe even third with Piastri out there, right? So I think his dejection was primarily focused on himself, that he let those scenarios happen rather than anybody else. Could Piastri have overtaken in turn four if Lando was alert? Maybe not. Correct. And the strategy that the discussion everybody was having, that Ferrari had one pit strategy, was McLaren looking at two. I think he answered that very clearly, that they were not looking at two, so that's ruled out. But nonetheless, could he have done a lot more better? Yes, I think couple of errors, couple of snoozing points made all the difference.
Naren, a different perspective that you want to add on to that?
Yes, actually, I would like to add on to what Prashant was saying. What Prashant was saying was absolutely correct. But probably, in my opinion, considering that the gap after the Monza, the gap between Max and Lando in the drivers' championship is 70 points. Probably, if the team would have played a team game and said Oscar to probably defend all the ones in behind, he would have probably gotten 10 more points extra, which would have closed the gap between Max and Lando. Now, Lando is at 240 and Max is at 303. It would have been 10 points more, probably. That's my opinion. And yeah, and at one point, I was seeing that Lando Norris was losing a little focus. For example, when during the first pit stop, I don't know what he was doing. He suddenly braked and he flat spotted his tire and he hit the bollard in the pit entry, and all this fiasco was happening. So I think after Landon or Oscar Piastri overtook him in turn four, I saw him losing a bit of focus, but he could have gained, but he did not let his ego, or I think it was his ego more to say that how can he go forward when I'm actually leading the points table. So I think that was probably his mindset that did not allow him to go beyond, and that also allowed him to be in a very soft zone or a quiet zone today.
Makes sense. I mean,
I think Norris.
yeah, go ahead.
I think. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. I think Norris can take heart only in one thing today, that he spoiled the party for the birthday boy Carlos Sainz. So that's the only thing he can look forward to, or else his luck was so bad today. I think he would have come fourth also, but I think he persisted to at least stay at the at the podium. But I feel bad for the birthday boy. Sad.
Yeah, no, but I would say, see, two-third of the season is done. We just got 8 more races, so now every race and every point in that counts if Lando wants to charge towards that position that seems within his grasp right now. And I think to the earlier point that Prashant made, there were certain things that were in his control that he would probably feel bad about, and there were certain things, as Arijit highlighted, were not in his control, was bad luck that he can't manage. But that said, Carlos Sainz, as birthday boy, did actually think about sacrificing, as he went on the call and said, okay, this is our plan. I'm going to try and stop this guy as much as I can so that make sure that Charles gets his best shot at it. So I think Sainz has completely shown again how much of a team player he has been throughout the season and actually throughout his career so far, especially on his birthday. There was a slight sentimental point where they were 1-2 and I was like they could swap. But obviously, with the tires that he had and the performance that he had, it wasn't logical enough. But any shout outs for the birthday boy?
Yeah, definitely. I think just to add to what Naren said, right? I think what Naren was hoping that McLaren would do, Ferrari did, right? Though there was no team voice out or team strategy calls, I think they had a plan, right? I believe that this one pit strategy was discussed extensively. I think Ferrari knew that all their rivals will go for a two pit strategy, which I think majority of the teams went through. But this is where probably Charles and Sainz and the team constructors would have discussed out and said, hey, if this is option C, should we explore the one pit strategy? And somebody has to fall behind. Sainz wouldn't have come in because he was anyway not in the top grid, right? Meaning he was not in the top 3 or 4 in the qualifying. So his chances of probably being in the top 3 was always restricted. But I think he fulfilled that duty, right? He did not make any hush hush about it. He did not make any big bang news about it. Nobody, the commentators even talked about it, to be honest, actually, right? I think it was a very quiet effort, but it played to Ferrari. And I think coming up fourth finally after all that, drama still makes a huge difference to what he is. I would still say I don't know how next year with Hamilton and Charles, like two alphas trying to win, a drivers' championship is going to play to a team where strategies are always restricted or strategies are always very, very challenging to kind of execute.
Hey, but
Science
I
has
mean,
been
they
doing that.
bought Hamilton for strategy also. He's playing two roles with
Yeah,
them.
he is. Well, let's see how it is, right? I think we will have to see how that goes through. But nonetheless, Science, smooth operator, did his job once again fabulously. And I think a lot of credit goes to him beyond Charles. I think Charles drove very fantastically, all the credit. But I think as a team player, he did it really well.
I have something to add about sense. Where there's a Williams, there's a way, and I think the way he has been a team player, I think Alex Albon would be looking forward to a podium finish next year.
Always with an exciting prediction out there. Or the last time also you came around, you had bold predictions. I'd save that question for the end to be like, what are your next bold predictions? But you're already out with it. Since you brought up Williams, we saw a new face on the Williams side. Uh, Naren, what are your thoughts on having, and I'm going to mispronounce his name again, uh, but this Pinto guy,
Let's keep it Pinto. Cola Pinto.
Cola
All
Pinto.
right. Okay. So for the fanlist and for the people who are watching this who did not know, we had two Williams drivers in the past, and it was Alexander Albon and one from the US, Logan Sargent. And for reasons known because of his performance, he was ousted. He was taken out from the team, and we had an Argentinian driver in the name of Cola Pinto who replaced Logan Sargent. So the primary reason why the talking point why Logan Sargent was removed was the crash that he did during the free practice in Zandvoort, and that probably elevated his chance of not being in the team. The reason also why Colapinto was brought in is that they can challenge for points, but he did not actually get through into the points because he was P15. Um, if I am right, let me just
Yes, yes, yeah.
confirm it. Yeah,
Correct. P15.
P15. So he's still not going for the points. So uh, we just have 9 races, and we have a new driver lineup for 2025 in the name of Science and Albon. Why? My question was, why do you have to just replace a driver for 9 races who is just in F1 because he has no prior F1 experience, and I'm not sure if he has extensively tested the F1 waters. So why? Maybe to James Walls, I will ask this question: Why? Why do you have to? But they would obviously have their own reasons. But maybe from a very layman fan's perspective, I would still ask why as the question.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is simply they didn't find anyone else. They wanted to pull him off. Uh, to your point, it could even be contractual, and they wanted to follow through and have him ousted. And then, at this point, so late in the race, when you know that you don't necessarily have a future for the next season, you're not going to get too many drivers in that ecosystem.
Correction, he finished P12. I was just seeing the results. He finished P12. Impressive still for a race that he has started with. But the idea behind taking Logan Sargent off was to go for points immediately. That didn't happen in the first race.
One thing you have to admire, like how often do you see a British team giving a chance to an Argentine? Not does not happen that frequently.
That's true. Uh, but again, he's had good performances in F2. So it shows that they're ready to take that chance. And we don't know what was happening
Yeah,
behind the scenes there, but
uh, I think what they're looking forward with him is that he's pretty handsome. So maybe a little bit of female fans over there. Well, I don't know. I do not know there about
Uh,
F1 strategy, but their F1 fan strategy is pretty much game on.
Mario, apart from being a good driver, I think all Formula One fans are handsome looking. That's probably a ticket to entry, right? If it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
then I think you don't qualify for even F3 for that matter, I would say.
yeah.
yep, it looks like they driving has to do something with looks also. Maybe that's the other way. But yeah, I mean, ideally, if you think about it, it's these are sports personalities, extreme rigor that they go through every race. The level of fitness that each one has is just mind-boggling. We've heard about 5 to 6 kilos of just water content is lost every race. So extremely intense. And when we talk about the first place and we talk about the driver at 20th place, while we're looking on the track, it feels like people are lapping each other. But honestly, in terms of seconds, it's less than a minute. It's just mere seconds in a lot of cases that differentiates between the first driver and the 20th driver in that sequence. So it's just crazy the level of competition that's playing out at this level. So while we don't really talk about the back markers, nor do we talk about the one at the first. I do want to wrap up this conversation with a driver that we usually don't talk about because we're like, yeah, he's racing on his own. He won his thing. Let's discuss about the competition between second, third, and fourth. But that doesn't seem to be the case for the past few races. And there's an interesting comment that Max made towards the end of the race where he's basically asking everyone in the pit crew to be awake and make sure they're not screwing up his strategy in terms of making it worse because he noticed Russell was catching up on him and he could have lost another track position. And he wanted to make sure he kept the minimal track position gap between him and Lando. So, what are your thoughts on the Red Bull strategy, specifically from a Max perspective? Because we've spoken about Sergio for a while now.
I can start.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you actually see the pitch, we'll start with the pitch strategy because pitch strategy was probably what helping drivers to either move up in the position or move down in the position. If you see the pitch strategy that Max took was he was having a hard, medium, but while on the other hand, Russell had a medium, hard. So Max, what he did was he used the first set of hearts a little longer than the Russell, who was on mediums, and he overcut Russell. So if you see between the sixth and the seventh position, Max Verstappen really had a brilliant tire management strategy, at least in Monza, but. I think what actually did not favor him is obviously that the entire car is now in a particular level where he can't get anything max out of it. The car has reached the maximum potential of upgrades. So maybe that's why he is now focusing more on strategies rather than the performance of the car itself. That's what is also making him lose his patience also in Zandvoort and now. Uh, Going forward, I think the entire Red Bull has to rely completely on tactics, techniques, and strategies inside the race rather than the entire technical performance of the car itself.
Yep, they can't depend on that car anymore. Uh, any other thoughts from Ori or Prashant?
Prashant, do you have any thoughts?
Uh, well, I haven't been following up on Max's strategies of lately, but I would say, purely from the observation standpoint, would they add more upgrades? I'm not sure whether they have the capabilities. I think they had a engine change, they had a chassis change, or multiple things changed just before the summer break, right? And there are two elements out to it, right? At the beginning of the year and till about 4 or 5 races ago, Max and Red Bull were sitting very comfortable, and everyone was thinking that they're going to win. I think somewhere that crept in. They did not anticipate their rivals to come back such strongly and give them a really, really hard competition. I think they have to go back to the drawing boards. Okay, is it going to be just a driver? Is it just a car, or is it just a strategy? I think it's a combination of all. Naren absolutely beautifully put that up. They need to really go back and say, does the car require an upgrade? A driver, of course, right? Meaning you're already talking about a four-time world champion who's out there. So, would he upgrade himself a lot more? He's screaming for a better car, better performance, better strategy. So it all goes down to the other aspects of it. So I think they need to really go back to the drawing board. It's been 6 races since Max has won, right? And we have not seen this for since Mercedes days, right? Meaning Mercedes used to win every race, and 18 out of the 20 races, or 18 out of 20 or 15 out of 20.
I was
So
going to say
so we're
since the
all
time we
used
started
to.
this podcast.
Yeah. So we
Yeah,
are
yeah.
all used to the fact that whoever is in the first position, we actually don't talk about them and talk about anybody else. Today we are doing the same, but we are talking about the people who are in second and third and fourth position. But now there is an absolute pressure. So I think Red Bull really need to go back because they are under immense pressure. 8 points on constructors behind, 70 points on driver. I think driver a little bit buffer, but 8 points. If Lando had won and Piastri or Piastri would have come second, any one or two, they would have been at the same set of points at I think 442 to 442 or whatever that number would have been. The 8 point difference is because they couldn't get the victory. So lot more work to be done for Red Bull.
And they can't really depend on
I
Perez
think
to get them any more points
Yeah,
compared to a PS3 Lando
yeah,
combination.
yes.
I think Vivek, besides the strategy about the race and the car, I think Max should consider visiting Tirupati, get his head tonsured, or visit Mysore, Chamundi Betta, and all that. So maybe his dreams will come true. Maybe we'll see him as a fifth world time champion. But he has to or wear some rings and all that
Bathe
because
himself in
his neck is not
haldi,
that great. Yeah,
because haldi, orange,
yeah, something he has to do. Climb climb all the way. Yeah, those are those are the things I
tried and
think
tested
Max should
strategies.
consider.
Yeah.
With that,
Max is hearing all of this.
one news I did want to highlight for our fans is we are going to get a new Kimi in
Okay.
Mercedes next year. And obviously, Toto's already fired the shot saying he had decided on Kimi almost immediately. We all know there was a lot of drama behind the scenes where he tried a few other drivers, but shots fired. Let's see what 2025 has lined up from that perspective. With that, episode number 50, Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia. We've got so far. Hopefully, another 50 more down the lane, and we're going to see a lot more drivers winning, constructors championships won by different constructors and by different drivers. And the best part about it is this group of fans, and there are a lot more. There are about, like, if there are 20 drivers on the racetrack, we have at least 20 other fanelists who have come on this show. So if I went through everyone's name, I'm sure I'm going to forget some, but I want to thank each one of them. We know you're watching this. So thank you for being part of the show through its journey to get us to 50, and hopefully you're going to be joining us for 50 more. For all the new fanelists watching this, you can be on this show, give us a ping, connect with this community of F1 enthusiasts based out of India and one more location outside, which makes us international. And with that, wrapping up with this episode, thank you everyone once again for being on the show. Thanks, Prashant. Thanks, Naren. Thanks, Ori.
Signing
Thank
off with
you.
one news that Kevin Magnussen receives one race
Yeah,
ban.
one race ban.
Oh,
People are happy about it.
it's not fair. The poor guy barely got some points.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
wrapping
at the
up with
cost
that,
of probably breaking a lot of front wings of other drivers.
adding to drama, which Drive to Survive can add another episode on. With that, wrapping up.
Fan to fan, we toast the speed. 50 strong, our voices lead. McLaren hunts for Red Bull's crown. Ferrari roars in Monza town. Verstappen fights to stay in play. Hamilton shines like brighter day. Thrills and chills on every bend. The chase, it seems, will never end. Toast the torque, feel the rush. Engines roar, hear the hush. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Acceleration down the line. Echoes of the engines whine. From every turn to flag and pole. Speed and fire in every soul. Champions rise and champions fall. Toast the torque, we heed the call. Every story, every race. Fans together, keeping pace. From the corners to the straights. Anticipation never waits. 50 episodes, we cheer and shout. Our passion loud, we stand so proud. Toast the torque, feel the rush. Engines roar, hear the hush. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Toast the torque, feel the rush. Engines roar, hear the hush. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Acceleration down the line. Echoes of the engines whine. From every turn to flag and pole. Speed and fire in every soul. Acceleration down the lush. Engines roar, engines wash. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Acceleration down the lush. Engines roar, engines wash. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Acceleration down the lush. Acceleration down the lush. In this game we all take part. From the corners to the straights. Anticipation never waits. 50 episodes, we cheer and shout. Our passion loud, we stand so proud.